Latest details.
First, a major change in the race for governor. Another huge announcement could soon follow.
Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez is suspending her campaign. AJ Bayapor is here in the studio. And AJ, the question now is whether another candidate will get back into the race.
Yeah, Amanda, Bill, this could really be one of the most dramatic shifts we have seen in Wisconsin politics. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez is out, citing the financial mess that came to light earlier this week. Just 8 days ago, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley dropped out and endorsed Rodriguez. Now, multiple Democratic sources tell me some high-level people in the party are pushing for Crowley to get back in, and he's thinking about it.
This race had been pretty sleepy for a long time. And all of a sudden, in the last 2 weeks, it's gotten very interesting.
Democratic strategist Sachin Chetta refers to the wake-up call that was David Crowley dropping out to endorse Sara Rodriguez last week. Then, on Friday, Rodriguez dropped out. It came after she announced a series of financial reporting errors that left Rodriguez with far less funding than the other Democratic candidates.
As we have continued to dig into our financial reports, it has become clear that there are issues that would be an ongoing distraction.
Democratic sources say party leaders are privately pushing Crowley to get back in, concerned the current frontrunners, State Representative Francesca Hong and former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, would not fare well in November against the Republican nominee, Congressman Tom Tiffany. What is the risk of potentially signaling to some voters that the establishment is putting its thumb on the scale of this primary?
That's a great question, AJ. And I think that's actually an issue that will get litigated in the primary. If folks get in this race and they're endorsed by this person or that person, then the other candidates are going to make that argument.
Sources tell CBS 58 Crowley would come back on two conditions. Rodriguez drops out and Governor Tony Evers endorses him in the primary. Other Democratic voices question why the party would take that chance.
I don't know how the county executive goes from being within the margin of error of you and I to suddenly pulling votes away from the two top runners to get to where he needs to get to. I just don't see it. But, you know, that's why they play the games, right?
Crowley is already on the August 11th ballot, so if he changes his mind, nothing would change there.
I think if you're an absentee voter and you have your ballot in your hand, I would hold on to it. I would wait to see what's going to happen next in this race.
For party leaders, the question is whether the pros outweigh the cons of getting involved and boosting Crowley nearly 3 weeks from the election.
Anybody can win this race. There's no reason you can't. You know, we are in unprecedented times.
It would certainly be unprecedented if indeed David Crowley re-enters this race. We're waiting to get an answer on that. In the meantime, a spokeswoman for Governor Evers told me he is leaving the state today on a trade mission, did not offer any other details. So far, Crowley's campaign has not commented today. However, sources close to him tell us that he is seriously considering restarting his campaign, one even telling me that it is, quote, likely to happen.
If Crowley gets back into the race, let's just say it does happen, doesn't some other stuff have to happen too? Because other folks would have to get out, and I'm not going to say who, I don't want to seem biased, but if you dilute the establishment side of the primary, aren't you just doing a favor to Francesca Hong?
You're looking at people either potentially getting out, or you're really hanging your hat on some people migrating their support from a candidate if they don't get out, to say, okay, well, if all the party power brokers, if this very popular governor in Tony Evers does do something he's never done before and weigh in and offer an endorsement in a primary, do a number of voters who aren't backing Francesca Hong, because it's very clear her supporters are not going to flip. They're with her all the way. Are there enough voters on the fence or those backing other candidates to say, if Tony Evers is involved, that's good enough for me, I'll get behind Crowley?
Well, and with Tony Evers involved, it sure does put pressure on his former Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes, to make some decisions because, you know, it's not a great look for him.
To not get the endorsement from his former
boss.
governor. Yeah.
And right now we have not gotten any sort of indication that he would get out of the race, but, you know, certainly when you hear people in the political circles of Milwaukee, their thought would be that if Crowley gets back in, the best thing would be for Barnes to get out. But again, that's what people outside of his campaign are thinking. Right now, we're not getting any indication that he is considering that.
There is a lot of intrigue here. All right.
It's been a week.
Yeah. AJ.